The message arrived on a Tuesday morning at exactly 0947 Universal Time. Every screen on Earth, from smartphones to television sets to digital billboards, flickered and went dark. Then a face appeared. It was not human. High Archon Kelax of the Zalkerian Imperium stared down at humanity with 3 golden eyes set in a crystalline face. His voice echoed through every speaker on the planet, automatically translated into every human language. Primitive species of the 3rd planet, Kelax began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. I am High Archon Kelax, Supreme Commander of the Zalkerian Imperium. For 12,000 of your years we have ruled this section of the galaxy. We have conquered 847 species. You are nothing special. In homes, offices, and public squares across Earth, billions of humans stopped what they were doing and listened. Your planet sits upon deposits of xenothium, a mineral we require. You have 10 of your solar rotations to surrender. Lay down your primitive weapons. Accept our rule. You will become workers in our empire. Resist and we will exterminate every last one of you. Your choice is simple, servitude or extinction. The screens went black. For exactly 3 seconds the world was silent. Then chaos erupted. The Zalkerian Imperium had been watching Earth for 200 years. They had observed humanity's wars, famines, and conflicts. They saw a species divided into nearly 200 nations, speaking thousands of languages, worshipping different gods. They saw primitive nuclear weapons and chemical rockets. They calculated that conquering Earth would take less than 1 of their standard months. They were very, very wrong. Within 1 hour of Kelax's message, the United Nations Emergency Chamber was filled to capacity. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, and leaders from every nation on Earth gathered. Not in person, there was no time for that, but through holographic projections and video feeds. Secretary General Chen Wei stood at the podium, her face grave. We have received confirmation from our telescopes. A fleet of approximately 2,000 alien warships has entered our solar system. They are headed toward Earth. The chamber erupted in panicked voices, but Chen raised her hand for silence. We tried to establish peaceful communication. They refused. We offered trade negotiations. They refused. We offered cultural exchange. They laughed at us. Chen's voice grew harder. They have given us 10 days to surrender our entire planet and species into slavery. I ask you now, what is our answer? The American president stood first. We fight, the Russian premier nodded. We fight, the Chinese premier agreed. We fight. One by one, every leader in that chamber gave the same answer. Ancient enemies, bitter rivals, nations that had fought wars against each other just years before, all spoke with one voice. For the first time in human history, Earth was truly united. Then we are agreed, Chen said. All borders are temporarily dissolved. All military forces will operate under joint command. All scientific resources will be shared. All manufacturing will be directed toward the war effort. Every person on this planet is now part of the same army. She looked directly into the camera, knowing her words would be recorded for history. Send a message to the Zalkerian Imperium. Tell them, you just made a terrible mistake. But the Zalkerians did not wait for a reply. 3 days after their ultimatum, they struck. The moon base was humanity's first permanent settlement beyond Earth. 3,000 people lived and worked there. Mining operations and scientific research stations. The Zalkerian warships appeared without warning and fired a single massive beam of concentrated energy. The moon base vanished in a flash of light. 3,000 humans dead in an instant. On Mars, the colonies were newer but growing. 5 separate settlements, 20,000 people total, building humanity's future on the Red Planet. The Zalkerian fleet split off a small squadron and methodically destroyed each settlement, one after another. 23,000 more humans dead. Earth watched it happen. The Zalkerians made sure they did. They broadcast it all, streaming video of the destruction to every planet in their empire. This was how the Imperium operated. They made examples. They wanted other species to see what happened when you defied them. But something unexpected happened. On Earth, there was no panic. No mass surrenders. No pleas for mercy. Instead, there was rage. Pure, focused human rage. In military bases around the world, soldiers watched their comrades die and tightened their grips on their weapons. In laboratories, scientists worked faster, slept less, driven by fury. In factories, workers volunteered for triple shifts to produce weapons, ammunition, anything that could kill aliens. Humanity had been fighting each other for 10,000 years. They knew war. They understood it in their bones. And now, for the first time ever, they had a common enemy. The Zalkarian fleet reached Earth orbit 4 days after destroying the moon base. Kelax appeared on screens again, expecting to see a broken species begging for mercy. Instead, every military satellite humanity possessed opened fire at once. The weapons were primitive by Zalkarian standards. Simple railguns, missile systems, laser arrays built for shooting down other satellites. But there were hundreds of them, and they all fired simultaneously in a coordinated strike that Earth's military had spent 4 days planning. 3 Zalkarian warships exploded. Just 3 out of 2,000, but it was something. It was humanity drawing first blood. Kelax stared at the reports in disbelief. The humans had actually damaged his fleet. With their primitive weapons, they had destroyed 3 warships. It should have been impossible. Begin the ground invasion, he ordered. I want major population centers occupied within 2 days. Show them what happens when insects sting their betters. Zalkarian dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere, heading for New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, São Paulo, and 50 other major cities. Each dropship carried 500 Zalkarian soldiers, warriors who had fought in 100 planetary conquests. They expected frightened primitives with chemical projectile weapons. They got something very different. In New York, the first dropship landed in Central Park. The doors opened, and 500 Zalkarian soldiers marched out in perfect formation, their plasma rifles ready. Every building around the park exploded. Humans had rigged the entire area with explosives. Thousands of pounds of military-grade charges detonated simultaneously. The shockwave killed 200 Zalkarian soldiers instantly. The rest scattered, their perfect formation broken. Then the real fight began. From every window, rooftop, and doorway, human soldiers opened fire. Not with the advanced energy weapons the Zalkarians expected, but with good old-fashioned bullets, rockets, and grenades. The humans didn't fight in formation. They fought like wolves, attacking from every direction, using the ruins as cover. This same scene played out in every city the Zalkarians tried to occupy. In Beijing, humans flooded underground tunnels and attacked from below. In Moscow, they used the winter cold against the aliens whose technology struggled in sub-zero temperatures. In São Paulo, they turned the favelas into a nightmare maze of ambushes and traps. By the end of the first day, the Zalkarians had lost 30,000 soldiers. High Archon Kelax sat in his command ship staring at the casualty reports. This was impossible. These were supposed to be primitives. Weak, divided, easily conquered primitives. What are these humans? He whispered. His advisor stepped forward. Sir, I have been studying their history. I believe they are what our scientists call a death world species. Explain. Their planet is unusually hostile. Extreme weather, dangerous predators, diseases, natural disasters. For millions of years, everything on their planet has been trying to kill them. They evolved to survive in chaos. They evolved to fight. Kelax's eyes widened. How many death world species have we conquered before? The advisor was silent for a long moment. None, sir. We always avoided them. They were considered too dangerous, too unpredictable. The cost of conquering them never justified the benefit. Kelax felt something he had not experienced in his 300 years of life. Fear. Then why, he said slowly, did we attack this one? No one had an answer. On Earth, Secretary General Chen Wei stood before cameras once more. Behind her, every flag of every nation on Earth hung side by side. To the Zalkarian Imperium, she said, you attacked our homes. You killed our people. You thought we would surrender. You were wrong. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not forget, and humanity is coming for you. The battle for New York lasted 11 days. The Zalkarians sent more troops, more equipment, more firepower. They leveled entire city blocks with orbital bombardment. They killed hundreds of thousands of humans. The humans kept fighting. On the 8th day, Commander Sarah Mitchell stood in what used to be Times Square, now a crater filled with rubble and burning vehicles. Her uniform was torn, her face covered in dirt and blood. Around her, what remained of her unit took cover behind destroyed Zalkarian tanks. Commander, we have 20 minutes before their next wave arrives, Lieutenant Park said, checking his rifle. We're out of anti-armor missiles. We're low on ammunition. What are your orders? Sarah looked at the Zalkarian command post 3 blocks away. It was heavily fortified, protected by energy shields that their weapons could barely scratch. Taking it would be suicide, she smiled. It was not a nice smile. We have something better than missiles, she said. We have a nuclear bomb. Park stared at her. Ma'am, that's a tactical nuke. If we use it here, we'll destroy what's left of Manhattan. We'll kill ourselves along with them. I know, Sarah said calmly. Get everyone to minimum safe distance. We have one shot at this. 20 minutes later, a mushroom cloud rose over New York City. The Zalkarian command post ceased to exist. So did 12 city blocks and 300 human soldiers who chose to stay behind to make sure the bomb detonated properly. When High Archon Kelak saw the report, he threw his data tablet across the command room. They destroyed their own city, he shouted. What kind of insane species destroys its own territory to win a battle? His tactical advisor, a veteran of 50 conquered worlds, spoke quietly. A species that values victory over survival, my lord. A species that refuses to lose. Kelak paced back and forth, his crystalline features reflecting the glow of tactical displays. We have superior technology. We have superior numbers. We should have conquered this planet in weeks. Instead, we are losing thousands of soldiers every day. How is this possible? The humans fight differently than any species we have encountered, the advisor explained. They do not follow standard military doctrine. They attack from unexpected angles. They use weapons we do not anticipate. In London, they released a chemical agent that is harmless to them but deadly to our soldiers. In Tokyo, they somehow hijacked our communications and filled our channels with loud human music, disrupting our coordination. Music? Kelak said in disbelief. Yes, my lord. Something called heavy metal, at volumes that damaged our audio receptors. Kelak sat down heavily. Continue the reports. In Moscow, they used the weather against us. They lured our forces into exposed positions, then waited for a blizzard. Our equipment malfunctioned in the extreme cold. In Mumbai, they flooded underground tunnels while our soldiers were inside. In Lagos, they used biological weapons, diseases they had already developed immunity to, but we had not. They fight like they have no honor, Kelak said. No, my lord, the advisor corrected. They fight like they have already lost everything and have nothing more to lose. It makes them more dangerous than any opponent we have ever faced. But the Zalkarians were not the only ones learning lessons. In a secret bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, the greatest minds of humanity had gathered. Scientists, engineers, hackers, military strategists. They had been given unlimited resources and one simple mission: find a way to win. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood before a holographic display showing a captured Zalkarian plasma rifle. Around her, 30 scientists from 15 different countries studied the alien technology. We have been reverse engineering their weapons for 3 weeks, she explained. We are beginning to understand how they work. The energy cells, the plasma generation, the focusing mechanism. It is far more advanced than our technology, but not as advanced as they believe. What do you mean? Asked General Martinez, the military liaison to the science team. Yuki changed the display to show a comparison. Zalkarian technology is very efficient, very reliable, very standardized. Every weapon is the same. Every system follows the same protocols. This makes their technology easy to maintain and operate across their entire empire. And that is bad because it makes them predictable, Yuki said with a grin. We have cracked their encryption codes. We can intercept their communications. We can hack their systems. They never imagined a species with our level of computer expertise because they have been the technological superior for so long. Martinez leaned forward. Can we use this? We already are, Yuki said. Yesterday, we hacked into 3 Zalkarian warships and locked them out of their own weapon systems for 40 minutes. It was enough time for our fighter pilots to destroy them. The general's eyes widened. How many more can you hack? How many ships do they have? In orbit around Earth, the space battle raged. The Zalkarians had better ships, better shields, better weapons, but humans had something else. Desperation and creativity. Captain James Chen piloted his fighter through a debris field, dodging plasma fire. His ship was a hastily modified civilian spacecraft, armed with missiles designed for taking out satellites. It should not have been able to survive 5 minutes against a Zalkarian warship. He had been fighting for 6 hours. Thunder. 2. This is Thunder, leader. His radio crackled. We have a window. Their shields are cycling. Hit them now! Roger that, Chen responded, pushing his engines to maximum. He fired every missile he had left, watching them streak toward the Zalkerian destroyer. Most were shot down by point defense systems, but 3 got through, punching holes in the alien hull. It was not enough to destroy the ship, but it was damage. And damage accumulated. All across Earth's orbit, similar battles played out. Hundreds of human fighters flying ships that were barely spaceworthy, attacking an enemy fleet that should have obliterated them in minutes. But the humans used the debris field as cover. They attacked in swarms, overwhelming point defenses. They sacrificed themselves to buy their comrades opportunities. After 2 weeks of orbital combat, the Zalkerians had lost 200 ships. The humans had lost 4,000 fighters, but 4,000 new human fighters were being built every day. The Zalkerians' reinforcements were months away. On Earth's surface, human forces began pushing back. In Beijing, Chinese forces recaptured the city center. In Cairo, Egyptian troops drove the Zalkerians out completely. In Sydney, Australian soldiers used guerrilla tactics to make the occupation so costly that the aliens withdrew. The Zalkerians learned another terrible truth about humans. They never gave up. Even when defeated, they regrouped. Even when outnumbered, they attacked. Even when their position was hopeless, they kept fighting, and they learned from every battle. The humans studied captured Zalkerian equipment, adapted their tactics, shared information instantly across their global network. What worked in one city was implemented in 10 others within hours. What failed was discarded immediately. The Zalkerian military had spent 12,000 years perfecting warfare against conventional opponents. They had never faced an opponent like humanity, a species that evolved through constant warfare with itself and its environment, a species that treated every battle as a learning opportunity. High Archon Kellex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching real-time feeds from Earth. Everywhere his forces were struggling. Not losing, not yet, but struggling in a way they never had before. "My lord," his advisor said carefully, "perhaps we should consider negotiating a withdrawal. We still hold the orbital high ground. We can declare victory and leave with our honor intact." "Withdraw?" Kellex turned on him. "We are the Zalkerian Imperium. We do not withdraw from primitives. Send word to the homeworld. Tell them to send the second fleet. We will crush these humans once and for all." What Kellex did not know was that his message was intercepted. Dr. Tanaka and her team decoded it. Within minutes, they learned that reinforcements were coming. 5,000 more Zalkerian warships 3 months away. The news spread through Earth's command structure. 5,000 more ships. The first fleet had nearly destroyed them, and they had barely managed to hold their ground. How could they possibly survive 5,000 more? Secretary General Chen stood before the United Earth Council once more. 3 months, she said. We have 3 months before their reinforcements arrive. 3 months to turn the tide. 3 months to build our own fleet and take this fight beyond Earth. That's impossible, the British Prime Minister said. We don't have the resources, the technology, or the time. Chen smiled grimly. 2 months ago, everyone said it was impossible to fight the Zalkerians at all. We proved them wrong. We will prove them wrong again. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's orbital shipyards. Hundreds of construction platforms, all working at maximum capacity. We are building ships. Not fancy ships, not pretty ships, but functional ships. We are using every ounce of salvaged Zalkerian technology. Every bit of Earth's industrial capacity. In 3 months, we will have a fleet. How many ships? Someone asked. 5,000 to match theirs? Chen shook her head. No. We will have 10,000, and we will not wait for them to come to us. We are taking this war to them. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Attack the Zalkerian Imperium? Invade their territory? It was madness. Chen waited for silence, then spoke the words that would echo through history. They came to our home. They killed our people. They wanted to make us slaves. The transformation of Earth happened faster than anyone thought possible. Every factory, every workshop, every manufacturing facility on the planet was converted for war production. Automobile plants that once produced family cars now built tanks and armored vehicles. Electronics factories that made smartphones now assembled guidance systems for missiles. Even toy factories were repurposed to make components for drones. In Detroit, the old General Motors plant worked 24 hours a day. 3 shifts of workers, each one 8 hours long, with no breaks in production. They were building spacecraft carriers, massive ships designed to launch thousands of fighters. Maria Rodriguez welded a hull plate into place, sparks flying around her protective mask. 6 months ago, she had been assembling sedans. Now she was building warships. Her son was in the military, fighting Zalkerians in South America. Her daughter was an engineer, designing weapons. Her husband had died in the first week of the invasion, killed when the aliens bombed their neighborhood. She worked harder. Across the factory floor, similar stories repeated. Every worker had lost someone. Every worker had a reason to fight. They worked until their hands bled, until they could barely stand, until supervisors forced them to rest. Then they came back and worked more. Earth produced its first human-designed warship 37 days after the invasion began. It was ugly, a boxy vessel that looked nothing like the sleek Zalkerian ships. But it worked. The second ship launched 5 days later, the third and fourth together 3 days after that. By the end of the second month, Earth was launching 10 ships per day. In laboratories around the world, scientists pushed the boundaries of what was possible. They had Zalkerian technology to study now, captured weapons and equipment, even intact ships. Every piece was dissected, analyzed, understood. Dr. Robert Chen sat in his lab at MIT, staring at a Zalkerian plasma rifle. His team had been studying it for 6 weeks. They understood the basic principles now: contain high-energy plasma in a magnetic field, then release it in a focused beam. The Zalkerian version was elegant, efficient, reliable. Robert's version was none of those things. "Fire it up," he told his assistant. They activated the prototype human plasma weapon. It was twice as large as the Zalkerian version, made from parts scavenged from 3 different technologies. It should not work. It fired a beam 3 times more powerful than the Zalkerian weapon. The targeting dummy exploded, so did the wall behind it, and part of the wall behind that. "Okay," Robert said, coughing through the smoke. "Maybe we made it too powerful." His assistant grinned. Or maybe the Zalkerians made theirs too weak. This pattern repeated in dozens of research facilities. Human scientists did not just copy alien technology. They modified it, improved it, combined it with their own innovations. The Zalkerians had spent thousands of years perfecting their weapons. Humans spent weeks making them better. Why? Because humans were competitive by nature. 50 different research teams were all racing to develop the best weapons, the fastest ships, the strongest armor. The Zalkerians shared one standardized technology across their empire. Humans had 50 different solutions to every problem, and the best ones were immediately adopted by everyone. Colonel Sarah Mitchell, promoted after the Battle of New York, stood in a briefing room with military leaders from around the world. Before her, a holographic display showed the solar system. "We have pushed the Zalkerians back to Mars orbit," she explained. "They still have numerical superiority, but they are no longer attacking. They are waiting for their reinforcements." "What about our fleet?" asked General Wu from China. Sarah changed the display to show Earth's orbital shipyards. Hundreds of ships under construction, swarms of workers in spacesuits, automated assembly drones working non-stop. "We currently have 400 combat-ready warships. In 4 weeks, we will have 2,000. In 8 weeks, 5,000. In 12 weeks, 10,000. The room was silent. The numbers seemed impossible. "How?" asked Admiral Petrov from Russia. "We have never built spacecraft on this scale before." "Because we are using every resource we have," Sarah replied. "We are mining asteroids for raw materials. We are using AI to optimize every step of production. We are working around the clock, and we are motivated." She pulled up images from the invasion. Cities in ruins, mass graves, children crying over dead parents. The Zalkerians made one critical mistake. They thought destroying our cities would break our will to fight. Instead, it gave us clarity. We know exactly what we are fighting for. We know exactly what happens if we lose, so we will not lose. But building ships was only part of the solution. Humanity needed something else: allies. The Zalkerian Imperium ruled 847 species. Most were conquered, occupied. controlled. Some had been under Zalkerian rule for thousands of years. They had forgotten what freedom looked like, until they saw Earth. On the planet Voltar 3, the native Voltarians worked in mining operations, extracting the same xenothium the Zalkerians wanted from Earth. They had been slaves for 2,000 years. Their rebellion had been crushed generations ago. They had accepted their fate. Then the news arrived. A primitive species called humans was fighting back. Not just fighting, but winning battles. Destroying Zalkerian ships, refusing to surrender. A young Voltarian miner named Kresh heard the stories and felt something he had never experienced before. Hope. Is it true? He asked an older miner. Are the humans really defeating the Imperium? The overseers say it is propaganda, the older miner replied. They say the humans will be crushed soon. But if it is true, Kresh said slowly, if one species can resist, maybe we can too. The older miner looked around nervously. Such talk was dangerous. But he leaned closer and whispered, there are others who think the same. Meet us tonight at the old excavation site. Across the Imperium, similar conversations were happening. The humans had done something incredible. They had shown that the Zalkerians were not invincible. And once that illusion was shattered, everything changed. On Earth, the war effort continued. But something else was happening too. Humanity was preparing a message for the galaxy. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood before a camera, surrounded by her team. They had spent weeks preparing this broadcast. It would be sent on all frequencies the Zalkerians use, transmitted throughout their empire. My name is Dr. Yuki Tanaka. I am a human from Earth. The Zalkerian Imperium invaded our world, killed our people, and tried to enslave us. We are fighting back. But this message is not for the Zalkerians. This message is for everyone they have conquered. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We know you are out there. We know you suffer under Zalkerian rule. We want you to know, you are not alone. We are humans. We refuse to surrender. We refuse to be slaves. And we are willing to share what we have learned. The display behind her showed technical specifications for human weapons, tactics that worked against Zalkerians, strategies for guerrilla warfare. We do not ask you to fight with us. We do not ask you to risk everything. But if you choose to resist, if you choose to be free, we will help you. The Zalkerians are not invincible. We have proven that. Together, we can prove it again. The broadcast ended. Dr. Tanaka had no idea if anyone would listen. 3 days later, the first responses arrived, coded messages from a dozen different planets, all saying the same thing. We are ready. Tell us what to do. High Archon Kelax received the intelligence reports with growing horror. Rebellions were starting on 8 different worlds. Minor incidents so far, easily suppressed, but troubling. The humans were somehow communicating with his subject species, encouraging resistance. How are they doing this? He demanded. How are they reaching worlds halfway across the Imperium? They are using our own communication networks, his technical advisor explained. They hacked into our systems weeks ago. We thought we had expelled them, but they left behind hidden access points. They have been spying on us this entire time. Kelax felt his blood freeze. If the humans had access to their networks, they knew troop movements, supply lines, strategic planning. They knew everything. Shut it down, he ordered. Shut down the entire communication network if necessary. My lord, that would cripple our ability to coordinate across the Imperium. Do it anyway. We cannot fight a war if the enemy knows our every move. But it was already too late. The damage was done. The humans had stolen more than just tactical information. They had learned the locations of every Zalkerian military base, every supply depot, every weakness in the Imperium's defenses. On Earth, Secretary General Chen stood before the United Earth Council with a smile on her face. We have allies, she announced. 7 species have agreed to coordinate their resistance with our military operations. 15 more are considering it. The Imperium is beginning to fracture. This is incredible, said the American president. But we still face overwhelming odds. Their reinforcement fleet will arrive in 6 weeks. Even with allies, can we truly win? Chen pulled up a star map showing the Zalkerian Imperium. It was vast, spanning dozens of systems. The Zalkerians have ruled for 12,000 years. They are powerful, advanced, seemingly unstoppable. But they have one critical weakness. She pointed to the center of the map. Everything depends on their home world, their go. The Retribution left Earth orbit on a cold morning in March, 3 months after the invasion began. It was not alone. 500 human warships followed, a fleet that should not exist, built by a species that had barely reached Mars before the Zalkerians arrived. Admiral Marcus Cole stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching Earth shrink in the view screen. He was 53 years old, a career Navy officer who had spent 30 years preparing for naval warfare on Earth's oceans. Now he commanded a fleet heading to another solar system. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his tactical officer said. "FTL drives charging," Marcus nodded. "Activate the drives. Set course for Proxima Centauri. Let us introduce ourselves to the galaxy." The fleet vanished in a flash of light, leaving Earth behind. Proxima Centauri was the closest star system to Earth, just 4 light-years away. The Zalkerians had established a listening post there decades ago, monitoring humanity's development. It was lightly defended, only 20 ships and a small garrison on the planet. It was the perfect first target. The human fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system, drives glowing hot from the journey. Alarms immediately sounded on the Zalkerian station. Commander Vexlar, the Zalkerian officer in charge, stared at his sensors in disbelief. 500 ships had just appeared. "Human ships, impossible. All vessels, battle stations," he ordered. "Send a distress signal to the nearest fleet." But the humans had learned from months of warfare. They were not here to fight fairly. The first wave was not warships but missiles, hundreds of them, launched from maximum range. The Zalkerian point defenses shot down most, but not all. 3 ships exploded before they could even power their weapons. The second wave was electronic warfare. Human hackers, working from ships equipped with quantum computers, attacked the Zalkerian communication network. Suddenly, the defending ships could not coordinate with each other. The third wave was the human fleet itself, diving in fast and aggressive, overwhelming the confused defenders with sheer numbers. The Battle of Proxima Centauri lasted 4 hours. When it ended, all 20 Zalkerian ships were destroyed or captured. The listening post surrendered without a fight. Admiral Cole broadcast a message from the captured station, sending it on all Zalkerian frequencies. "This is Admiral Marcus Cole of the United Earth Fleet. Today, we have taken our first step beyond our solar system. Today, we have shown that humanity will not be caged. To the Zalkerian Imperium, you attacked our home. Now we are coming for yours. To all species under Zalkerian rule, your chains can be broken. We will help you break them." The message spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On Voltar 3, the young miner Kresh heard the broadcast and gathered his fellow rebels. The humans did it. They actually attacked an Imperium system and won. "What do we do?" someone asked. Kresh picked up a mining tool, hefting its weight. "We fight tonight. The humans gave us the tools. They gave us the knowledge. Now we give them allies." That night, the Voltarian rebellion began. It started in one mining facility, spread to others. Within 3 days, the entire planet was in revolt. The Zalkerian garrison, only 500 soldiers, was overwhelmed by millions of angry miners who had suffered for 2,000 years. Voltar 3 declared independence. It would not be the last. The human fleet did not stop at Proxima Centauri. They jumped to Tau Ceti, another nearby Zalkerian outpost, then to Epsilon Eridani, then to Lacaille 9352. Each time they struck fast, hit hard, and moved on before reinforcements could arrive. The Zalkerians called it terrorism. Admiral Cole called it warfare. "We cannot match them ship for ship," he told his officers. "We cannot win a traditional war, so we do not fight a traditional war. We hit supply lines. We destroy communication relays. We inspire rebellions. We make them fight on 100 fronts at once." And it worked. Too well. Within 6 weeks of leaving Earth, the human fleet had destroyed or captured 40 Zalkerian installations. Rebellions had erupted on 19 planets. The Imperium's supply lines were in chaos, but there was a cost. The human fleet was down to 300 ships. They had been fighting non-stop for weeks against increasingly prepared defenders. Ships were damaged, supplies were running low, and crew exhaustion was becoming a serious problem. Captain Sarah Mitchell, commanding the destroyer Vengeance, reviewed her casualty reports with a heavy heart. She had left Earth with 200 crew members. She was down to 143. The rest were dead or wounded. "Captain, we have new orders from Admiral Cole," her communications officer reported. "We are to rendezvous with the main fleet at the Rigel system." Sarah checked the star map. Rigel was 50 light-years from their current position. It was also 20 light-years from the Zalkarian homeworld. "He is going for it," she whispered. "He is actually going to attack their homeworld." The Zalkarian homeworld, Zalkeris Prime, had not been attacked in 8,000 years. It was the heart of the Imperium, home to 12 billion Zalkarians. It was protected by the most powerful defense fleet in the galaxy, 3,000 warships, orbital defense platforms, planetary shields. It was considered impregnable. High Archon Kelak stood in the Grand Council chamber on Zalkeris Prime, facing the other Archons who ruled the Imperium. They were not happy with him. "You said Earth would fall in weeks," Archon Vexelan accused. "It has been 4 months. Not only have we failed to conquer one primitive planet, but we have lost 40 installations and face rebellions across our territory. This is a disaster." Kelak struggled to maintain his composure. "The humans are more resourceful than anticipated, but our second fleet will arrive at Earth in 10 days. 5,000 ships will overwhelm them. Then we can redirect forces to suppress the rebellions." "And what of their fleet that is currently rampaging through our territory?" another Archon demanded. "What of the rebels they are arming and training?" "A minor nuisance," Kelak said, though he did not sound convinced. "Once Earth falls, their fleet will have nowhere to return to. They will be isolated and destroyed." What none of them knew was that human intelligence had infiltrated the council chamber. A tiny drone no larger than an insect hovered in the rafters, recording everything and transmitting it back to the human. Fleet Admiral Cole received the intelligence and called an emergency meeting of his senior staff. "The Zalkarian Second Fleet reaches Earth in 10 days, he announced. 5,000 ships. Earth's defense fleet has 3,000 ships. They can hold for a while, but not forever." "What are our orders?" Captain Mitchell asked. Cole pulled up a holographic display of Zalkeris Prime. "We have 300 ships. They have 3,000 protecting their homeworld. Mathematically, we should not even attempt an attack. But," someone prompted, "but they do not know we are coming. They think we are on the other side of their territory. They think their homeworld is safe, and they are about to learn a very important lesson about humanity." He zoomed in on the planet. "We are not going to fight their fleet. We are going to do what humans have always done when faced with superior force. We are going to cheat." Over the next 5 days, the human fleet gathered in the Rigel system. 300 ships, representing the strongest striking force humanity had ever assembled. They were battered, worn, running on salvaged parts and sheer determination. But they were ready. Admiral Cole stood before a camera, recording a message that would be sent to Earth. "By the time you receive this, we will have already attacked Zalkeris Prime. I do not know if we will succeed. I do not know if we will survive. But I know this: we will make them hurt. We will make them regret ever coming to Earth. And if we fall knowing that we gave humanity a fighting chance." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "To my wife, my children, tell them I love them. To everyone on Earth, keep fighting. Build more ships. Train more soldiers. Never surrender. And if we do not return, finish what we started. Make them pay for every human they killed. Make them remember Earth forever." The recording ended. Cole took a deep breath and returned to the bridge. "All ships prepare for FTL jump. Target, Zalkeris Prime. Attack plan, overwhelming surprise assault on their planetary defense grid. We will have approximately 30 minutes before their full fleet can respond. In that time, we need to cripple their defenses and create enough chaos to mask our true objective." "Which is?" his tactical officer asked. Cole smiled grimly. "We are going to capture or kill every member of the Grand Council. Cut off the head and the body will die. That is how you kill an empire." The fleet jumped to FTL, heading directly into the heart of enemy territory. Every crew member knew it was likely a one-way trip. They went anyway, because they were human. And humans once committed did not retreat. On Zalkeris Prime, the day was ordinary. Citizens went about their lives, secure in the knowledge that they were protected by the mightiest military force in the galaxy. The idea that anyone would dare attack their homeworld was absurd. Then, without warning, 300 human warships dropped out of FTL in close orbit and opened fire on everything in range. The Zalkerians, so secure in their superiority, so certain of their safety, were caught completely unprepared. And in that moment of surprise, the humans showed them what happens when you threaten a species that evolved fighting every day just to survive. The humans showed them war without mercy, without honor, without hesitation. They showed them humanity at its most dangerous. The Battle of Zalkeris. Prime began at 1437 local time on what the Zalkerians would later call the Day of Fire. 300 human warships appeared in orbit without warning, their weapons already hot. The first salvo targeted the orbital defense platforms, massive structures that had protected the planet for thousands of years. Human missiles, equipped with salvaged Zalkerian warheads and enhanced with human engineering, struck with devastating precision. 7 platforms exploded in the first 30 seconds. On the ground, alarms blared across the capital city. Citizens looked up in shock as trails of fire crossed the sky. This was impossible. Zalkeris Prime had not been attacked in 8,000 years. It was the safest place in the galaxy. Admiral Cole watched the tactical display on the Retribution's bridge. Every second counted. They had minutes before the Zalkerian defense fleet could organize a response. "All ships focus fire on the planetary shields," he ordered. "We need an opening." The human fleet concentrated its weapons on one section of the planetary defense shield. The shield was designed to withstand sustained bombardment, but not from this many ships firing simultaneously at a single point. It flickered, strained, and finally collapsed in that sector. "Marines, go now," Cole commanded. 50 assault shuttles dropped from the fleet, racing toward the planet's surface. They carried 2,000 human soldiers with one mission: reach the Grand Council chamber and capture or kill the Zalkerian leadership. Captain Sarah Mitchell piloted her shuttle through defensive fire. Her knuckles white on the controls, plasma bolts streaked past her cockpit. 2 shuttles to her left exploded. She gritted her teeth and pushed her engines harder. 60 seconds to landing, she called to her troops. "Remember the briefing. The council chamber is 3 kilometers from our landing zone. We need to get there before they evacuate." The shuttle hit the ground hard, its landing gear buckling from the impact. The rear door blew open and Sarah led her Marines out into the heart of the Zalkerian capital. The streets were chaos. Civilians ran in every direction, screaming. Zalkerian security forces were mobilizing, but they had never trained for an invasion of their own planet. They did not know what to do, the humans did. They had studied captured city maps for weeks. They knew every street, every building, every security checkpoint, and they moved with the speed of soldiers who knew they had minutes to live unless they completed their mission. Sarah's force fought through 6 blocks of desperate resistance. Zalkerian soldiers tried to stop them, but the humans fought with an intensity born of pure rage. Every soldier in that assault force had lost someone to the Zalkerians. Friends, family, comrades. This was personal. In orbit, Admiral Cole watched his fleet being torn apart. The Zalkerian defense fleet had responded faster than expected. His 300 ships faced 3,000. It was a slaughter, but the humans kept fighting, kept buying time for the ground assault. "Admiral, we have lost 70 ships," his tactical officer reported. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Engineering reports main power at 60%. "Keep firing," Cole ordered. "We hold the line until our Marines complete their mission or we are all dead. There is no other option." Captain Mitchell burst into the Grand Council chamber with 40 Marines, half her original force. The ornate room was filled with Zalkerian guards, all heavily armed. At the center, on raised platforms, sat the 12 Archons who ruled the Imperium. High Archon Kelak stood, his crystalline features twisted in fury. "How dare you? This is sacred ground. You primitive savages have defiled the heart of our civilization." Sarah raised her weapon. "You came to our world. You killed our people. You tried to make us slaves. Now you face judgment. We are the Zalkerian Imperium," Kelak shouted. "We have ruled for 12,000 years. You cannot defeat us." "Watch us," Sarah said and gave the order to fire. The battle in the council chamber was short but brutal. Zalkerian guards fought to protect their leaders, and they were skilled warriors. But the human Marines fought with the desperation of soldiers on a suicide mission. They knew they were likely going to die, so they made every shot count. When the gunfire stopped, 11 of the 12 Archons were dead. Only Kelax remained, wounded but alive. All around him lay the bodies of his guards and 20 human Marines. Sarah limped toward him, blood running down her leg from a plasma burn. She grabbed Kelax by his ornate robes and dragged him to the center of the chamber, where the Council's broadcast equipment stood. "You are going to send a message," she told him. "You are going to tell every world in your empire that the war is over." Kelax laughed, a bitter sound. "You think killing us ends anything? The Imperium has existed for 12 millennia. It will survive 12 more." "No," Sarah said, activating the broadcast system. "It ends today, because humanity does not do half measures. You wanted to exterminate us. Now we will show you what extinction looks like." In orbit, Admiral Cole received a signal from the surface. Mission accomplished. The Zalkerian leadership was dead or captured. "All ships begin Phase 2, he ordered. What happened next would be debated by historians for generations. Some called it justice, others called it genocide. But everyone agreed it was effective. The human fleet targeted every military installation on Zalkeris Prime. Spaceports, weapons factories, military academies, garrison bases. They were methodically destroyed from orbit. The Zalkerians fought back desperately, their defense fleet finally organized and pressing hard against the human ships. But the humans had learned something important. The Zalkerians were warriors, but humans were survivors. And survivors did whatever was necessary to win. Captain Mitchell forced Kelax to broadcast a message to every Zalkerian ship in the system. "This is High Archon Kelax. By my authority, I order all forces to stand down immediately. The war is over. We have lost." The message was a lie, broadcast under duress, but it created confusion in the Zalkerian ranks. Some ships stopped firing, uncertain. Others continued fighting. That moment of hesitation was all the humans needed. Admiral Cole did something unprecedented in the history of warfare. He opened communication channels to the Zalkerian fleet and sent them footage of their dead council, their burning cities, their fallen leaders. "Your Archons started this war," he broadcast. "They are dead now. Your people are suffering because of their arrogance. You can continue fighting and watch your homeworld burn, or you can surrender and save what remains. You have 5 minutes to decide." The Zalkerian fleet commander, a veteran of 100 battles, stared at the images in horror. His entire worldview was shattering. The Imperium was supposed to be eternal, unchangeable, invincible. Now he watched it crumble in real time. He made a decision that would echo through history. He ordered his fleet to stand down. 3,000 Zalkerian warships powered down their weapons. The Battle of Zalkeris Prime ended after 4 hours and 17 minutes. The victory came at a terrible cost. Of the 300 human ships that attacked, only 83 survived. Admiral Cole's flagship was crippled, held together by emergency repairs. Of the 2,000 Marines who landed, only 400 survived, but they had done the impossible. They had struck at the heart of an empire and brought it to its knees. Sarah Mitchell stood in the ruined Grand Council chamber, leaning on her rifle for support. Around her, medics worked frantically to save wounded Marines. She had survived, though she did not quite understand how. Her communications officer handed her a radio. "Captain Admiral Cole is on the line." Sarah took the radio. "Mitchell here. Captain, well done. You and your Marines just changed the course of galactic history." Cole's voice was tired but satisfied. "How many did we lose?" "Too many, sir," Sarah replied, looking at the bodies of her fallen comrades. "But we completed the mission." "Yes, you did. Now comes the hard part. We need to negotiate a surrender with the Zalkerians. They outnumber us badly still. If they choose to fight to the last ship, they can still kill us all. What are your orders?" "Bring me Kelax. I want to talk to him face to face." An hour later, High Archon Kelax was brought aboard the Retribution, his wounds bandaged, his pride shattered. He was led to the bridge where Admiral Cole waited. The two leaders stared at each other. One represented an empire 12,000 years old. The other represented a species that had been spacefaring for less than a century. "You cannot hold this planet," Kelax said finally. "You have too few ships, too few soldiers." "My forces will rally. They will reclaim our world." "Perhaps," Cole agreed. "But before they do, we will destroy every military asset on this planet. Every shipyard, every factory, every training facility. We will leave your people alive but helpless, and then we will do the same to every other Zalkerian military installation we can reach. By the time your forces kill us, your empire will be unable to rebuild for generations. Kelex's eyes widened. You would cripple an entire civilization out of spite? Not spite, Cole corrected. Survival. You tried to exterminate us. We are making sure you can never try again, but I am offering you another option, which is unconditional surrender. Dismantle your military. Release all conquered species. Accept human observers to ensure compliance. In exchange, we will leave your people